Hello viewers! The companies Schülke & Meyer GmbH and Pfennig Reinigungstechnik welcome you warmly to this training film. This film concentrates on the topic of cleaning and disinfecting clean rooms. We will accompany you throughout the film, so you will know by the end of it what is particularly important, and naturally how you can work more safely and, above all, more easily. Aha, there's somebody coming now. But just a second, dear viewers. When you watch this film, you may notice that the apparatus, machines and rooms where you work look completely different. But whatever you do and however you do it, the work is essentially the same everywhere. So I'll start. Production processes in all companies place very special demands on the clean room. In this area, the aim is to guarantee the cleanest possible production processes with the least possible contamination. That is to say, when we talk about contamination in these rooms, we are talking about particles, for instance dust or protein bodies, and microorganisms that are so small that we cannot see them with the naked eye. For example, although a surface may be clean to look at, it may be heavily colonized with microorganisms. An example may help you realize how small these microorganisms really are. This is a sewing pen. If we magnify it under a microscope, we can see that it has plenty of room for many microorganisms. This is why a very specific procedure for cleaning and disinfection, which follows extremely precise regulations, has been developed. This gives us the certainty that we are able to eliminate the invisible contamination sufficiently. And that's not as easy as you may think. It has been proved that only very special cleaning agents and equipment with clearly defined instructions for use actually meet these demands. So, whoever takes on the responsibility of this work must be taught and trained accordingly. In this film, we would like to show in detail which tasks are to be carried out and illustrate how they should be integrated in your daily routine. But first, some basic information on the importance of hygiene in clean rooms. All products that find their way into the human organism, i.e. as medicines or as food, must be manufactured in such a way that they are free of unwanted particles to avoid risking the consumer's well-being. All production processes harbor the danger of the transmission of particles and microorganisms to the product by the people involved in the operation or via surfaces and machines. Experts speak here of contamination. That is to say, the microorganisms and particles are passed on passively. To prevent this, clean rooms are separated from the other rooms by airlocks. And of course, they are equipped with special ventilation and extraction systems. Let's look at a diagram of all this. Then you can see clearly the rooms with the airlocks and the various microorganisms inside and out. But what is a lot and how much is not many? How is this decided? In order to create the same rules and regulations for all companies, clean rooms are divided into different classes, depending on which production demands have to be satisfied. And this classification is based on the highest number of particles and microorganisms that are permissible in the air and on the surfaces. Classes A and B demand sterile conditions, that's to say virtually no microorganisms at all. So-called microorganism-reduced conditions are required for classes C and D. That is still far cleaner than in our normal surroundings. For this reason, different cleaning agents and disinfectants must be used for the respective clean rooms. These specifications have been laid down in the relevant GMP guidelines and recommendations, in standards and regulations, and in operational hygiene concepts and standard operating procedures. In summary, it can be said that cleaning hygienically sensitive areas is a very special task which, besides qualified and effective staff, also requires an acute sense of responsibility. An individual hygiene plan is prepared as a guideline for the individual activities which can vary widely depending on the company and the department. This plan is binding for the staff concerned. Every step is described exactly and, of course, must be strictly adhered to. So, always study your hygiene plan carefully, because the required hygiene status can only be maintained by well-organized cleaning and disinfection measures and exact compliance with the chemical and technical processes. If we now go into the clean rooms, you are, of course, already dressed properly. Naturally, you know that clean rooms are separated from other areas by airlocks in the interest of safety. Let's look at all the things that have to be cleaned and disinfected. There are the machines and apparatus, the fixtures and fittings, the working surfaces and the windows, the floors, the ceilings and the walls. We will show you later how these are treated. Two different methods are used for cleaning and disinfection: spraying and wiping. Both must be carried out with the highest possible care, without any gaps and systematically, because every spot that hasn't been reached could ruin the whole cleaning process, since bacteria, for example, may be left behind. And leaving microorganisms or particles behind may lead to, what was that word again? Contamination. Just remember that pin. Now a few points about the spraying method. Spraying makes it easier to disinfect difficult to clean objects, equipment and, for example, complicated apparatus components. Please make sure that the objects and surfaces are evenly wetted. That is to say, not made too wet to prevent puddle formation. Avoid so-called spray shadows, because incomplete wetting would not be sufficiently effective. And please remember, do not touch anything, not too much nor too little. Work from the top downwards and from the back forwards. So that's all there is to say about spraying. Let's turn to the main topic, wiping surfaces. Wiping is done with a mop and a cleaning disinfectant solution. This solution consists of water and a concentrate that must be added at a certain ratio. These so-called concentrations for use are very important for optimal disinfection. If the concentration for use is too weak, less sensitive microorganisms may become re-established. On the other hand, an overdose is uneconomical and may even cause problems for staff and materials. Now to another important subject, because it really saves a lot of work: the mop. But it's not just any old cotton mop, it's really very special. This whole mop has been newly developed on the basis of practical experience. The mop cover is made of special microfibers that are suitable for clean rooms. It is particularly resistant and glides very easily. It is lint-free and has tremendous advantages over conventional cotton products. That's why this patented mop is the only mop that has been certified for use in clean rooms. The mop cover itself can be fitted hands-free using the special folding mechanism. It is very simple. All in all, the handling and the area covered by the mop have been considerably improved through the greater width of the mop head, the new mop material and the mop joint, which makes it particularly easy to guide. Of course, it's also far more economical. And there's another special advantage. That is the even application of the disinfection solution from the mop. The surfaces are covered with a uniform film of the solution. Not too much, not too little. The same goes for cleaning the walls and ceilings. Before we come to the correct and economical cleaning and disinfection of surfaces, I would like to present the new system trolley. Its special construction permits quick and easy working practices. The containers are arranged to simplify working in a logical order. And how does the teamwork function with this system trolley? The removable tubs are simply hung up in the basic chassis. The trolley itself runs on low friction wheels on axles which are, of course, grease-free. This is the tub that the sterile mop covers are taken out of. The large tub is intended for the disinfection solution and is so wide that the mop can comfortably be immersed before being squeezed out in the mop press. The remaining liquid drops into the special drip tub to prevent contamination of the cleaning solution. After wiping, the used mop covers are dropped into this tub. Now to the wiping process. In essence, the wiping process itself is carried out in circular movements or, as we experts call it, in figures of 8. In this way, we can wipe about 10 square meters of floor area evenly and without leaving anything out, while walking backwards. Let me show once again. Figure of 8 movement, nice and evenly, about 10 square meters. That's about 2 large steps sideways and 12 to 15 steps lengthways. We will now show you how that looks in practice. The new mop cover is immersed in the disinfection solution and wrung out once. Now it's ready for use. Divide the room up into imaginary 10 square meter areas. In a divided area with obstacles, first wipe around these and along the edges of the floor. Then follows the wiping of the free surfaces. In order to clean the floor in the right direction and according to the planned scheme, first push a track along the wall to the furthermost part of the room and start wiping there. Then, while walking backwards, wipe the surface in those figure of 8 movements. Here we should stress again that in order to prevent the microorganisms and dust particles from coming off the mop again, you must never change the direction taken by the mop cover, because the dirt is practically always pulled along by the mop. Exactly, and only this method guarantees uninterrupted wetting of the surfaces to give the best possible cleaning and disinfecting results. Move backwards towards the airlock door. The mop cover is marked with an arrow to show you which way to go. What we see here is how it should not be done. Hectic movements and a lack of concentration lead to wiping around the corners rather than right into them and to gaps. Not very good at all. Another point I particularly want to point out: leave the system trolley in the middle of the room. This way it will have to move as little as possible and won't get in your way. So, the mop must be used up after a while. What you do then? That's quite simple. After about 10 square meters, depending on the floor surface, you will notice a certain amount of friction when pulling the mop, which becomes harder to use. This is a clear signal that it is no longer dispensing enough liquid. Now is the time to replace the mop. Can you simply immerse the mop in the liquid again? Most certainly not. That would ruin the whole disinfection solution. So, place the used mop in the lower container and release it from the holder without touching it with your hands. This prevents the transmission of microorganisms from the mop to your hands. Pick up the new mop from the upper container using the mop mechanism, and the next wiping session can begin. One more time for practice. Drop the used mop into the lower container. Pick up the new mop from the upper container. Then we can carry on with the ceiling and the walls. The walls and ceilings are disinfected as required, in agreement with the hygiene and/or quality officers. Since the mop handle is light and easy to extend, the cleaning of the walls and ceilings can be carried out using a similar procedure to that used to clean the floor. First, wipe out the corners, then the rest of the surfaces in figure of 8 movements, just like we learned for the floors. Let me briefly summarize everything, as that was rather a lot of information to take in. Before wiping, divide the room into imaginary 10 square meter sections. You've got enough mops with you. Then position the trolley in the right place, more or less in the middle of the room. Pick up the mop, immerse it in the disinfection solution, and wring out. Wipe carefully under furniture and equipment. Hold the mop handle properly in order to save energy. Like that. Hold loosely at an angle of about 45 degrees, then wipe in figure of 8 movements and, of course, make sure that the arrow is always pointing towards you while moving backwards. And if it gets more difficult, the mop is empty and must be replaced. Now the rooms are clean, and the wrap-up work can be carried out, the individual steps always being performed in the correct order. Dispose of the remaining disinfection solution and the excess water. Drop the used mop covers into a designated laundry bag and lay it out to be sent to the laundry. In the airlock, dry off all parts of the system trolley with a microfiber cloth and then disinfect it with an alcoholic disinfectant, for instance, microceed liquid. Thank you for listening. We wish you great success.